Hi, welcome back to Tiny Classrooms Live.
Hi, the doctor here, Don Zalou in Taos, New Mexico, in snowy Taos, New Mexico.
And I'm Marty Nathan here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And our topic today, well, before I get into our topic, we've been absent for a couple
Couple,
of weeks.
couple weeks.
And Don, I think we've had a little COVID fatigue.
I think that's a good way of saying it. This is going to be our 100th Tiny Classroom Training Live. And I think around 95, we got a little tired. So the time off was worthwhile.
Yes, it was. But I don't know if you've noticed, but in the last couple of weeks, we've invited some friends from Europe
Mhm.
to join us here. And on a weekly basis, we've been talking about emotional intelligence, right, Don?
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. And so today, I think that we'll start off with a kind of follow-on to emotional intelligence, and it's a subject we've addressed a couple of times before, but this one's kind of unique. And we're going to talk about some ways to more productively foster psychological safety, if you will, among those of your folks who are working from home.
That's probably a good way to segue back into our active live conversations here. So I guess the first thing you might want to consider is to listen to understand. As leaders, the the most important thing we do is communicate, and the biggest part of communication is listening.
Mhm, mhm. It is. It is. And then sort of to follow on or add to that, conduct what we call proportional conversations. And psychological safety exists when team members feel that they have the opportunity to speak in roughly equal proportions to their peers. So conducting a proportional conversation can occur throughout a week, a month, etc. It's very, very important that there's balance in the conversations between you and your team member and the team members themselves.
And I think it's important that you, as a leader, speak last.
Hmm.
That way you can get everyone else engaged in the conversation. They won't be intimidated by your comments or thoughts. And you can get them all working together before you follow up at the end with speaking or maybe just a recap of what everyone's been saying.
That's right. That's right. Uh, and I think the next one might be to identify blind spots together. When you as a leader invite other people into helping identify the blind spots, it's an admission to not having all the answers, which is incredibly important. We've talked about that several times already. That the openness and the imperfection of leadership is very productive when it's open. So polling, in-person virtual meetings, all this helps draw out more diverse views as you work with your team to try to solve problems.
You may also want to address problems. And I know we say that that's a big role of managers, but really, when people are out of sight, problems may be out of mind. And even when you're with people in the office,
Mhm.
most of us tend to avoid those kinds of difficult conversations. So if you see a problem, address it. Everyone else is going to see it anyways. And so you might as well get it up on the table, or as they say, on the screen, and get everyone talking about it and finding solutions.
That's all very, very good. And so maybe as we put a close on this brief conversation about psychological safety, think about yourself as a leader, and your role is to address problems when they come up and to assist your team members in addressing the problems, facilitate them participating, and lead only listen about the problem, listen, ask questions and listen. And that sort of those sort of three things and the things we've just talked about really add up to psychological safety for the folks who work for you. And it's extremely important, isn't it, Artie?
Yes, it is. Another thing you might want to consider is to connect everyone's contributions to
Mm.
the value of your discussions or to your corporate values, and help people to be engaged, to remain engaged, because when they're home, they're worried, they're anxious. The news that they read outside of work is particularly scary these days.
Yeah,
So you want to help to keep them focused and engaged.
that's right. And there's an interesting trick, even with so many Zoom calls that everyone's involved in these days, even in the middle of a Zoom call, conversation with multiple people, once in a while, it's kind of interesting and very productive to just turn your camera off once in a while. So that you're not, you can sit back, you can take a break, but you can still be engaged in the conversation. Very cool thing to do. And it's not impolite. Don't say to your crowd, I'm going to shut my camera off now. Just do it, and spend a minute or two taking a breath, listening, contributing verbally, but then bring your camera back on. It gives you a sense of the ability to control your own momentary reality.
Probably a good thing to discuss with your team as well. Let them know what you're doing and encourage them to do the same.
Yeah. So there it is for today. Revisited, but maybe with a different take. And we think it's so important that emotional intelligence and psychological safety be foremost, front and center in how you lead and manage your teams in this remote and stressful environment.
Thank you.
Thank you.